Good morning, everybody. I would like to introduce the speaker for today. My name is Dr. Martin Frasch. I'm a faculty in the department, for those who don't know. And the speaker today is Dr. Hatiang Hu, and he is a very unique person among many researchers that I've met. In that he's got a medical background with education in Taiwan, and then he went on to do a PhD at the Princeton University and postdocs at the Berkeley and Stanford in math and applied mathematics, and then joined the faculty at the University of Toronto in 2014, where we met when I was still at the University of Montreal back in Canada, and then moved just a few months ago to the Duke University, going through the ranks from assistant to associate within just a few years. And he's got a unique set of skills that combine deep understanding of the medical needs for analysis of the big data that we all see every day, with limited ability as a human to digest them all in a meaningful way at once, and the mathematical tools that are needed to address the challenge. So the talk is it's kind of a result of discussions and the research that we've been doing together over a few years, and much more than that, that I think will attempt to help us to see how a mathematician sees the problem, and what are perhaps options and the solutions that we may embrace to deal with the big data in medicine, and specifically in obstetrics, what is very close to our heart is, of course, the fetal heart rate monitoring. So that probably will be one of the topics. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is my great pleasure to come here to share some of my works and some of my thoughts here. I'm sorry for my sound, I don't know why, because of the weather or whatever. Like yesterday, I started to feel bad, and today it happens. I got a cold. So I'm sorry for the sound. But anyway, the topic I want to discuss is about mathematics. And I want to say, okay, everyone is talking about AI, artificial intelligence. It's everywhere. You see this kind of news every day. Physicians will be replaced by AI someday, and we will all lose jobs. And well, it will be the future, or something like that. But I want to say, yes, this day might come, might come. Well, but anyway, if you want to do so, if this day will come, mathematics will play a role. Let's start. So artificial intelligence, AI, is everywhere. You see it like automatic driving car or whatever they are. It's too much. Finance, well, even to replace lawyer, like people are saying it. But no, I only know some medicine, so I will focus on medicine. So this kind of talk about AI will be limited to medicine. So I want to put the bottom line. I would say artificial intelligence is nothing but knowledge, background knowledge, strong background knowledge, unique background knowledge, and mathematics, statistics, and so on and so forth. And maybe if someday we understand what the mind is, we will have a mind. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you have the knowledge and experience. Okay, that is irreplaceable. On the right-hand side, you have your computer, and the goal is to ask if it is possible to turn a computer into something that can help us, or some kind of intelligence that can help us. And this is what I want to emphasize. Like in the middle, if you want to do so, mathematics is really needed. Some people may call artificial intelligence machine learning, and there's kind of a vague boundary. So when you see those terms, somehow you can understand them on a high level, the same things, like machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so on. But on a high level, it is nothing but statistics, what you have learned from biostatistics, plus some background knowledge. Okay, so some may talk more, like, for example, if you remember 5 years ago or 6 years ago, people talked about big data. It's actually nothing new. The key is really the information hidden inside the data. if you don't have a proper analysis, then data is meaningless. For example, I give you the data on the left-hand side. I just give it to you. This is the data. Then what is it? If you don't know what problem you are solving right now, you don't know the background you are facing, you have right now, I mean, it is just meaningless, right? Don't you think so? Like I give you mushroom, what is a mushroom, right? But if you know, you want to find Neo, then you know what it is. So you can find the underlying structure. So we want to find a structure in the end of the day of the data. So data is always messy. Data is always messy. You imagine what you encounter in your daily practice. Okay, you have the notes. The patient complained a lot in front of you. You get a lot of biochemistry examination. You get image data. Okay, you have lab data, and so on and so forth. You have to integrate all those data, and then you get a diagnosis and help and know how to help the patient. Okay, so data is massive, and how to organize it is really the value of everything about data. And how do you do organization? You went to the medical school, you did training, and you learn how to organize those data. So we now know data, the importance of data. We now know the importance of knowledge. Now we want to know what is AI. So to get so-called artificial intelligence, model and analysis are inevitable. So imagine that you are Newton and you are hit by an apple. This is an observation. We can view it as a data, a piece of data. Okay. Now, if you just say, I'm hit by an apple, and you don't think, you don't find a way to organize this phenomenon, it's meaningless. It's just a data. But Newton came out with F equals ma. He found some fundamental rule underlying guiding the data, how this data is generated. So somehow we now can have a flight going to the air. We now can have shuttle going to the space. Even more, Einstein, he thought about the relationship of our world in a more deeper way and come out with this E equals mc squared. And he also predicted the existence of gravity wave, which was found last year. And if you paid attention, this year the Nobel Prize in Physics were given to people who found the gravity wave just last year. So just by finding the fundamental relationship underneath, we can do a lot. And this is really how we understand and organize the data. So we want to find the hidden structure under the data set. And that is somehow we call knowledge. So mathematics and the medicine, they somehow look like very different topics, and they, to some extent, are really different. But however, don't forget, everything we learned, we all learn biostatistics in medicine. Okay, and biostatistics somehow is kind of the transitional bridge in between medicine and the mathematics. You count on some basic mathematics to calculate the p-value, to understand what a linear regression is, so on and so forth, and to know how to do interpretation. That is biostatistics. Now, people are claiming that with big data, with AI, or with machine learning, well, we can solve the medical problem, and they may put, you see, the big data and AI here. However, from my viewpoint, this is where it should locate. Okay, somehow, if you want to really understand the big data or understand AI or really use it in medicine, you really need to know medicine and know not only medicine, but also mathematics. And this is kind of the new era of data science. I'm sorry. I won't comment too much about this slide, but I want to give you maybe 30 seconds to savor it and to see this comics, which was prepared by in this XKCD scientific comics website, which is quite interesting. I saw this comics in front of the doors of several AI experts, and I don't know if you can appreciate what it says, but the bottom line is you may want to know more before you apply the tools for artificial intelligence. And Well, again, hopefully this is the last time I emphasize it. Without mathematics, from observation, you may get voodoo. For example, people observed how the planet stars moved in the old time, and they came out with this. It's called central geometric or geocentric model, right? Geocentric model. But well, we now know it is not correct. And why do we know it? Because of the help of some calculations. Okay, machine learning is really here, or artificial intelligence is really here. Like this is the latest paper published this year, maybe 3 months ago in NEJM. And if you have any time, any chance, any interest, it's a good paper to read. It's kind of interesting, which just tells you that beyond the peak of inflated expectations. So you have to have a right understanding of what artificial intelligence can give you or what machine learning can give you. It's not really everything. So is AI so magic and will replace physicians? If you just Google this kind of replacement, physicians, AI, you will get a lot of intimidating reports. People are saying, oh, well, someday, somehow, whatever, physicians are useless, they will be replaced, blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, I always do this as a joke, as from my viewpoint. No worry, clinicians are really the leaders in healthcare, and artificial intelligence will be led by physicians. Why? Why? Because AI's root is physicians' daily practice. And because what is artificial intelligence? Don't forget it. It is composed of two words. One is artificial, one is intelligence. It tries to try to reproduce your intelligence. So if you don't have an intelligence, what to replace? Right? For example, what do? You have data every day. Data, your blood pressure, annotation is how severe this patient is. You may also record, okay, 5 years later, the patient died or not. Okay, and you can learn the relationship between 5 years mortality and the BP control. Well, you can always do it. Well, this is gynecology obvious here, so maybe I shouldn't use this whatever. And you can predict the mortality, yeah, by survival model, yeah, for a new coming patient, right? And you may find out, right, there are some confounding factors. For example, this kind of white coat doctor syndrome and so on. So you want to improve the model, remove the confounding factor, collect data in a more correct way, so on and so forth. If you think about this, you can kind of very roughly on a high level summarize all those into the daily practice of how you discover the structure or underlying things, underlying fact. For example, you have on the right hand side data preparation, data cleanup, database collection. Well, this is kind of headache, right? If you ever did research, you know each step can be terrible. But well, that is what we face, right? Then you follow up the patient, you do survival analysis, you have to suffer a bit with SAS or SPSS, whatever software you use, and you have to suffer a bit to find what is the meaning of P, what is the meaning of this hazard ratio, and how to convince the reviewer, and so on and so forth, whatever they are. Okay, and finally, maybe you can convince everyone and build up the protocol. Everybody will follow it. That's the knowledge, right? And people use it in clinics. But somehow it may need to be updated, right? So you repeat it again and again. For example, this is the blood pressure table announced about 3 days ago. Remember? Yeah, there's a new rule again, which is totally different from what I learned when I was a physician about 11 years ago. Well, I even don't recognize this. Yeah, there's so many new rules. Well, again, this is maybe I shouldn't use the cardiologist example, but anyway. But you may ask, or I was asked several times, hold on, Haoting. AlphaGo is so successful. It can beat the winner, the champion of in this Go game, and it seems to have replaced human. We human beings are not valuable anymore, right? You see, like we have AI. Everything it has been replaced. And just how long? A few months ago, few weeks ago, there was even a paper published in Nature saying, "Well, you can master the game of Go without human knowledge. Without human knowledge, I don't need you. Come on, we only run AlphaGo Master in 3 days. I can replace you for 3,000 years. Then why do you need it? Why do we need you?" The point is, don't forget one thing, very important thing. In the Go game, there is a rule. You can find a book which tells you what it means by win, what it means by lose. It has a meaning. There is a rule. But who can tell me the rule inside the body? Who can tell me the rule? Physicians. Do physicians know all the rules? Well, as far as I know, no, right? We are still building it up. And if a machine can really learn something and replace people, we have to first master everything. So there's a chicken and egg problem, right? And so that's not really anything we need to worry too much. It's an apple and orange problem we are comparing here. Okay, so artificial intelligence has several different aspects. We just need to focus on what we are and who we are. And physicians are the leader in this area. Okay, so up to now, about 10 minutes, I have discussed some high-level notion about artificial intelligence, and I hope I made my point clear. Now I want to give you one concrete example, which is a research result joined with Professor Martin Frasch. It's about the fetal ECG and the fetal heart rate variability, but I will not go into too much details. Somehow I will try to give it on high level so that you can have an understanding and know that what you do, what you have interest, may change the practice in some way. I'm sorry, I have to get some water. Okay, we want to get more out of our maternal abdominal ECG. And I think in this department, I don't need to mention too much about what it is. For example, this Monica machine, you put this on maternal's abdomen, then you can record the ECG signal. And this ECG signal contains both the maternal and the fetal ECG signals. Okay? And the challenge for you is, as a physician, how much fetal information, fetal heart rate, fetal electrophysiological morphology information you can extract out of the maternal abdominal ECG. And if you do a comparison with the directly recorded fetal ECG of your vagina, this is a kind of a stand machine, then you can see that, those spikes, small spikes, are really fetal ECG. And this I don't need to emphasize anymore. But the point is, now we believe that from the maternal abdominal ECG, it does contain fetal ECG information. Then how much we can extract out of it, how much, and can we use it in clinics, and how. So first, let's discuss knowledge. As an experienced gynecologist or cardiologist, you would, even if you don't have the ground truth, you may somehow read this ECG signal and tell me where the fetal ECG is, where it is, right? This is the knowledge. But if you give this to maybe not to me, I know how to read it, but if you give to another mathematician, maybe he cannot do it. If you give it to a person mastered in artificial intelligence but never touched ECG, then he cannot analyze it. You have to teach it. Okay, just like how you teach a machine to read it. So somehow this is the knowledge we have. And we know that, hey, once we know where the beats are, then we can count the heart rate. And if we found some kind of heart rate pattern changes, Well, there's a lot you can say, right? It might be fetal distresses and something so on and so forth, and all those clinical details. You know much more than me, so I don't need to emphasize. Well, a small side question is maybe in practice now you just use CTG. Why do you want to go to ECG? I mean, there are some reasons. For example, using ECG, you can really do the heart rate variability analysis, and you can do long-term monitoring, because for CTG machine you have to stay in the hospital, and it's not really convenient for a pregnant woman to wear this kind of huge CTG machine. Okay, so there are some reasons, but those are not the focus of today's talk. Just want to somehow let you know that is why we focus on fetal ECG. Okay, so that is the knowledge we want to use. So this is a kind of a very intense slide, which I will not go into detail. This slide includes the algorithm, actually our algorithm of converting or extracting fetal ECG signal out of maternal abdominal ECG signal so that we can do further analysis, which is composed of several steps. And you see the diagram, there are quite a lot of details. No worry, I will not go into all of them, but I will give you the main idea of how the algorithm works. But I want to emphasize that this work took me 4 or 5 years to get here, and with several publications in mathematics and statistics. Well, without those foundations, I couldn't get here or stand here to share this result with you. And if you kind of a partial evidence that we somehow, in some cases, need mathematics to help us to push forward, to get more information. Anyway, with the algorithm, suppose you believe me, with the algorithm, we can see some results. Okay, so first, we have a pregnant woman. I record the data. The data is here. Looks like this is a maternal abdominal ECG signal. And this is the result of the algorithm. We somehow recover and extract all the fetal ECG out of abdominal maternal ECG signal. Well, this is a bit shift on the left to the left. So if you shift to the right a bit, you can match all of them, and also get you where the R peaks are. So we get the RR interval information. Okay, and if I superimpose the extracted fetal ECG with the abdominal maternal ECG, this is the result. Okay, so if you pay attention on the top, the abdominal maternal ECG, the amplitude is 20, but the fetal ECG amplitude is about 5. So it's about 1/4 of the amplitude. Most of the time it is smaller, but I choose this example so that you can see it visually more easily. So this is the extracted fetal ECG. If we compare it with the directly recorded fetal ECG or the ground truth, you can see that the result is almost correct. Okay, so this is the first part of the result of the algorithm. And speaking of the ECG signal, you may ask, okay, well, in practice, most of the time, in addition to do some monitoring for ECG, we may want to know more about the morphology, right? For example, is there ST elevation? Is there any arrhythmia? Okay, will there be some kind of crazy behaviors, VPC or something? So you need to know some ECG morphology information. And yes, you can even get the fetal ECG morphology information out of the algorithm. So this is the result. From different channels, you can get the fetal activity, ECG activity, PQRST clearly. And it also reflects your cardiac axis. Now the question is, the fetus will rotate inside the abdomen. So how can you standardize it? This is the ongoing project with Martin, and we will have the result very soon. But this is the potential of getting more electrophysiological information of the fetus just out of maternal abdominal ECG. And I do expect to have some impact in clinical practice, ideally. And how? For example, you're not going to only get some morphology, but also QT variation or something like that. Not just heart rate variation. You get QT variation, and you know that QT variation somehow is viewed as kind of important information for this drug test, QT prolongation, so on and so forth. So here's a real scenario of using this kind of a new technique if it can all be cleaned up and be built up. So for example, after a long day, your patient send you some kind of monitoring system she can wear at home, and she send you a 12 hours ECG signal and ask you, hey, docs, I pay you a lot. Okay, could you tell me if my baby is okay today? Okay, now you have to answer, and this is the ECG signal she sent it to you. Oh, you don't want to read it 24 hours, who has the time? No, so you ask the AI system to help you. Okay, you get the heart rate variability, you get the EP information in milliseconds. Done. Okay, you see it. And you have this heart rate annotation, you have this QT annotation, whatever annotation you get for 24 hours. And it can help you to calculate some indices, for example, heart rate variability indices, QT indexes, whatever, which I won't go into details. And with those indices, for example, you have some kind of fetal has a bradycardia, so you have some trouble or tachycardia or so on and so forth. So please come to see me. Or, well, it's healthy, there's no problem, so don't worry. Okay, so you just need a few seconds to understand what's going on. Or the AI system may help you because it may accumulate knowledge. It may accumulate knowledge from other physicians and so on and so forth, and it can warn you, hey, you missed some points. Don't forget, this patient, this mother has a high BMI, so the data may not be so accurate, so you better take a second look because the algorithm may not be so accurate. Something like that. Or the AI will tell you, okay, well, the data is good, the result is good, so yeah, no worry. Something like that. But you are the leader, you are the boss. You don't trust AI all the time. You just say, okay, it wants you something, and if you feel that's reasonable, good, let's go for it. If it's not reasonable, just maybe, well, okay, that is kind of the spirit of AI from a viewpoint. It will provide a second opinion, and this second opinion is kind of trained or learned from other people. So, motivated by this fetal ECG example, we'll discuss some topics in modern data analysis so that you have a slightly more understanding of what I meant, why mathematics is important. The most important topic, if I only have time to discuss one, I will discuss matrix design. Matrix design. What is matrix? What is matrix? It is a way to compare people, to compare things, to compare objects, the way or quantity to compare, to do the comparison. Okay, so again, the key of everything is matrix design. If you can have the correct metric to compare things, then you can find the underlying structure. So the question is, for example, people may ask you, okay, there are several people on in this picture, and I am sitting here, I'm standing here, so who is closest, who looks most similar to me? If I ask you this question, you may say, okay, it is kind of weird. I have to guess what you mean by similar, right? Maybe you are asking for the height, the weight, the age, the gender, or the face appearance or whatever. What do you mean by similarity? This is something you have to define first. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense, right? So similarity, when you discuss similarity, the first thing first is you want to define the quantity, what you want. And in some problems, you even cannot define it. And similarity is actually what happens or physicians use every day. So for example, Now there's a new coming patient. How do you do the diagnosis? Right? You will take some basic physical information. For example, this guy is kind of 75 years man, which looks healthy, work in the clinics well, and talk very well. You won't consider it to be pregnant, right? So the gynecology criteria or knowledge will be ruled out, and you don't consider it at all. And you won't even consider a baby's situation, if right. So this is kind of the basic information you use every day. So you have this kind of basic idea to compare subjects, and with the compared information, this kind of basic things you can continue to use your knowledge or to link back to your experience. Okay, and then with this experience, which may come from textbook, come from your practice, come from research, then you can do the final diagnosis. So the rule of thumb is you want to get a rule out of the complicated word. And this so-called rule is the metric. And every physician has his own metric, right? You see a patient, you have some feeling, and you say, okay, this patient may fall into some categories. And in this category, there might be some criteria, and you start to do the measurement. And for some information which you cannot tell from just seeing the patient, you may send him to do image test to get an image or get a lab test or so on and so forth. So you are always trying to define your own similarity and get final result. And this similarity is very important when you go to so-called big data and so on. For example, I give you 30,000 subjects with outcome with very well annotated truths and so on. And here is a new patient coming. Then how will you compare it? Now she's worried about her baby. You won't compare it with a man, right? So you will compare with female. And which female you don't want to compare with it with a 5-year-old female, right? You will compare it with some kind of pregnant female and do the diagnosis. And what is it? It is kind of the variability. We all know it. We have variability among subjects. It's inevitable, and it doesn't make sense to compare a new patient with everyone in the data, so-called big data. So we want to find similar subjects in the database and do the comparison and do the inference. And what is the key step here? It's the similarity. You want to find similar subjects. And how to define similarity? As I said again, it really depends on physician's experience, or depends on some evidence, or depends on something, right? And you have to define it. And in general, it is really a mathematically challenging problem. And even right now, there is no universal consensus how to do the comparison, how to define this comparison, how to define a good metric for such an inter-individual comparison or prediction. So this is, and the dual geometry is kind of a field in mathematics which can help, but I won't go into detail. So the similarity is also the key to fetal ECG analysis. So for example, you know that this is the maternal abdominal ECG signal, which is composed of maternal ECG and the fetal ECG. The question is how to separate these two components. I mean, I will not go into details about signal processing and so on, but the bottom line is it is a very challenging problem if you view it from the traditional signal processing viewpoint because of many limitations. So traditional methods don't work. And if you only have one channel, the problem is even more challenging. So you need something new. And what is something new? The basic idea underneath the algorithm, underlying the algorithm is find similar bits so that we can do some kind of averaging to separate two components. For example, you see in this signal, as the maternal ECG is big, fetal ECG is small. So you see the maternal cardiac activity, they may look similar, but they are really different from bit to bit. Because we know that R interval and QT interval will have some some nonlinear relationship. And our ECG morphology also depends on your respiration, depends on well, several factors. So it is really different from bit to bit. But from time to time, you can find bits that look very similar. So if there is a way you can find similar bits, similar maternal bits, or the same maternal bits, then you can remove the fetal ECG. You can remove the fetal bits by taking the so-called median. That is the result. So suppose you can find similar bits, which are at least on the left-hand side. Then you take the median, you get the maternal bit out. That is the fetal ECG. Those are the fetal ECG, and the noise, they are small, right? Those here, they are just moved out. Just moved out. And this is the key component, key ingredient underlying the algorithm. So the main difficulty, as I mentioned, is how to find similar maternal bits. And for this part, I really have to go to mathematics and really write down some equation. But I decided not to do so here. I just want you to have a sense of what's going on here. That is, the metric design is something you cannot avoid when you do this kind of problem, ranging from your clinical decision to signal processing, so on and so forth. There are two key steps. You want to reduce the fetal ECG impact, and you run some kind of mathematical tool called diffusion to reduce noise. Whatever they are, we have some theoretical guarantee. That is, under some physiological homeostasis assumption, well, our heartbeat follows some basic rule. Okay, it won't go crazy. So we can somehow use some mathematical tools to model them. And with this model, we can design what I mentioned about this separation algorithm. And with this model, I can write down some theoretical guarantees. And those theoretical guarantees are published in those papers. So it's a kind of a series of work. So a quick summary is metric design is the key of data analysis. No matter what you want to do, always think about metric design. If you can only pick out, bring home one information, that is the metric. That is the metric. Always remember the metric and think when you do analysis, which part is the metric. And if you improve this part, maybe you get some new results. And topic 2 and topic 3, because of the time limitation, I will quickly go over them and without any much detail. So neural network, deep learning, they are very hot. You read the paper, you read news, it pops out every day. Or lots, support vector machine, random forest. You may saw them. You may see them from time to time when you read papers. Is there really anything new? Well, on high level, they are actually on the same category of linear regression. And we all know linear regression. What is linear regression? You have some predictor, you have some kind of response annotation or label, and you want to train this model and get some prediction, right? This is what you do in linear regression. And deep learning, all this kind of stuff, is just a nonlinear version of such prediction process, which is called supervised learning, because you have some label, and label will guide you about the structure of the data or the predictors. And clinicians do it all the time. It's not just anything new which pops out today or recently. No, clinicians do it all the time. For example, take a look at this picture. You have a BMI and AHI, apnea and hypopnea index relationship. And you see there's some kind of good relationship, and so you can use the linear regression to do, and you report some kind of things, p coefficient, p-value, confidence interval, blah, blah, blah. If you take a look, this is the metric. You know how to compare BMI, right? You know how to compare BMI. BMI is larger and it's larger. BMI is smaller, it's smaller. So you have a ranking. You can have a ranking, right? And you know why it is correct, why it is meaningful, because you get some kind of confidence interval and some kind of a residual, whatever you like. And you know how to do the interpretation, because AHI, you know the meaning is about sleep apnea. So actually, clinicians are doing this artificial intelligence with mathematics all the time. And the mathematics you learn is from biostatistics, so there's really nothing new. And the deep learning or deep neural network can just be viewed as nonlinear generalization of this linear regression or logistic regression. And the main challenge of when you use this fancy tool like deep learning is we actually have a limited understanding of its theoretical background. And so when we use it, you may have to be slightly more careful about how to do the interpretation and so on, because there's no theoretical guarantee nowadays. But anyway, it has been applied in several places. For example, this is a JAMA paper this year, I remember, or last year. It used this basic retinopathy analysis with deep learning algorithms, so on and so forth, which is quite fancy. And JAMA is good. So a big application is really trying to accumulate information, knowledge from all physicians. For example, people from OBGYN maybe not know everything for people from infection. You know some, but maybe not everything. People from infection may know some gynecology, but not know everything. Okay, but this kind of artificial intelligence with this supervised learning may help to accumulate this knowledge and provide a second opinion. Hey, this is really an infection problem, and you should be careful, and you may want to consult an infectionist and so on. But as far as I know, this is still a long way to go. Right now, all artificial intelligence systems, as far as I know, are focusing on just one application, and it's still not that clear how to go with a broader range. Watson is another example, and so on. And so supervised learning is, if you know linear regression, you know the essence of fancy tools. Okay, and the final goal is combine knowledge from all experts and improve our healthcare. Okay, the final topic I want to quickly go over is something called unsupervised learning, which you may also encounter in your research or in your daily life. Okay, so what is unsupervised learning? It is nothing but supervised learning, but now you do not have response, you do not have annotation, you do not have label. Then how to learn and what to learn. Okay, so for example, I give you 6 biomarkers, and if you plot the relationship, scatter plot of these biomarkers, for example, biomarker 1 and biomarker 2, from your eyeballs, you can easily see that there is this kind of 2 clusters, right? And for biomarkers 3 and 4, you can see 3 clusters, right? So something like that. But I don't give you any annotation, which one is good, which one is bad, or what is the response. Now I ask you, could you please tell me there are 2 clusters, or there are 3 clusters, or there are, for example, 2 clusters with background. And if you can do so, then we can come back and see if there is any relationship or any clinical meaningful information. There are several algorithms which you may encounter, like linear discrimination analysis and so on, K-mean, okay, or operate spectral clustering, blah blah blah. There are several algorithms. Whatever they are, the goal is to learn a structure, and I won't go into details about algorithms, but this is the result. For example, the color is the learned clusters. For some algorithms, you can see that you can learn quite well, but for some, it is not perfect. And we have some better understanding, mathematical understanding of what's really going on. But some are left unknown. So, one thing to warn you, in general, what do we really see? What do we really see? I give you a bunch of pictures. You can, if you quickly go over it, you see there are 2 categories. One is woman, female, and one is dog. Okay, if you do this kind of automatic classification, this is the result, right? And do you see anything strange? I mean, it's obviously something wrong, but the algorithm may give you something wrong, just like that. So you have to be careful when you run unsupervised learning. Like all results need to be doubly confirmed or evaluated by practitioners who knows the background knowledge and get a further step or a further classification. Maybe we know the label what we have interest, and we have to do supervised learning again to confirm the final result. So unsupervised learning is somehow to learn something directly from the data. But the result may not be the final answer. You have to be careful and design a next step algorithm to confirm what's going on. If someone tells you with unsupervised learning we can solve the problem, oh, you better be careful. So artificial intelligence and human should be collaborative but not competitive. And well, just hopefully someday in the future we can really have some artificial intelligence showing up to help us. But this kind of help is really collaborative instead of replacing anyone. Because, for example, we are doing quite a lot, right? If you think about 1 million years ago, the old human beings who needs water, he or she has to go to the river and use their hands and get the water. But now we invented cup, and I can hold the water even here. And this is kind of intelligence. We know that this cup can hold water, so I'm using it. So this is artificial intelligence to some extent. Artificial intelligence is everywhere. It's not anything really new. Today, it's not. So the summary, the key to AI for medicine is mathematics and the statistics, and the physician's knowledge is the essence of AI is branded in physician's daily life. You are doing it every day, and actually you are the leader. So this is my talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yuti. I'm going to open it for the questions.
Right. 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 Hmm? Right. Right. Yes. Right. So here's I can add upon a small thing that is traditionally, as far as I know, in practice we use CTG, and the CTG will give you the heart rate information on the average sense. Like it will give you the information every 4 times every second. But this kind of so-called sampling rate or the information is limited for us to really understand the so-called heart rate variability. Okay, so we do need the ECG technique. And if you remember, in the end of last year in Lancet, there was a paper discussing saying that, oh, well, the heart rate it's not, heart rate variability is not, heart rate is not useful and so on and blah, 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 a lot, negative result. Well, I mean, this part is okay, although there are some people attacking it. But the point is they use CTG instead of ECG. They used CTG instead of ECG, and the ECG and CTG, they have fundamental differences. Yes, and and the long-term monitoring is somehow the kind of, I would say, the future. Just imagine nobody here are wearing any ECG monitoring system, right? But as far as I know, well, not as far as I know, but for example, my personal classmate who is a physician now, and he wears this kind of long-term ECG monitoring, and he saved his life once because he get VT, VF sometime, and he didn't know that, and he fade out, and then he brought this ECG recording to another classmate, and he found this, and really somehow saved him, and do some treatment. Well, and for the fetal ECG for the fetus, like who knows? Just like the chairman just said, maybe I mean during some period the fetus is under stress. During another period is not, and during yet another period is under stress. And but when a woman came to the hospital during the examination, everything is okay. But after going home, something is bad. Then this kind of bad things may accumulate up to some level and change the fetus. But what I say is maybe, because nobody has this data, nobody knows how to do it. There's no such continuous long-term monitoring system existing in the world. Nothing. It's totally new. And what is the value? Nobody can say. But I believe in its value. That's why I'm working on it. Yeah, this is one difference. We can analyze single channel, we can analyze multiple channels, and with multiple channels, our result is, as far as we know, is much accurate because we use several new tools. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes.
All the supercomputers in the world cannot calculate it. And up to 15, it's thought that even the quantum computers will not be able to calculate. In other words, as the number of variables increase, the ability to crunch numbers and get something out becomes less and less viable.
Yes.
Is that part of the problem here? Are there so many variables that we can't crunch enough numbers to do it? Or
Oh, okay. So, okay, that's a good question. So for this TSP problem, travel salesman's problem, it is actually about it's the nature of the problem itself, and it's kind of we call it NP problem, non-polynomial problem, which tells you that the computational time you need will increase exponentially with the number of data set you have. Okay, and in this kind of problem, people cannot find, or people can prove that you cannot find any algorithm that is reasonably enough that you can finish the computation. So you have to do some approximation. This is point one for your question. The point two is in the algorithm, in the data, or in the challenge we encounter here, up to now, all the algorithms, all the problems we encounter we can find some good algorithms which won't go into this NP issue. Yes, they can be solved in a kind of a linear computational time. That is, the computational time you need will increase linearly as the data size increases. Okay, but will there be any structure that we are looking for in the near future that will go or encounter some NP problem structure? It is not yet now. It is not yet now. Maybe we will encounter it. But at least right now, for my problems, the problems I'm working with, I don't encounter it. Okay, even if I encounter it, right now there are several approximation algorithms to bypass it, which will give you some kind of good result, which is very close to the optimal solution, but with much more computational time. This is yet another solution to this kind of stuff. But the computational issue is really the essence or the heart of kind of data analysis, because in the end of the day, you are working with data. To work with data, you have to design some algorithms. To design an algorithm, you have to know the essence or real intrinsic information about the problem or about the data, and this may give you something totally crazy. It may. It depends on the problem. But I'm kind of quite lucky up to now, or maybe I didn't dig deep enough now. But anyway, I mean, yeah, but we are trying to do more. Yeah, and yeah, for example, I don't know if in the EEG problem like with Martin we will encounter it. I don't know. Maybe we will. Hopefully not. Thank you very much.